Okay, welcome back. Right, inside of Maya you have full control over animating pretty much every conceivable part of your scene. For this one we're going to do a very simple rotation on this logo. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have the camera start at about here, just in frame, and we're just going to rotate around the camera and maybe do a slight bit of translation as well. Yeah, something like this. Alright, so first things first, we need to select what we're going to animate. What I tend to do is I will animate the camera, or I'll actually set it up with a group to animate, but in this case I'm just going to go into Outliner and choose this perspective camera. With that selected, I'm going to say how many frames do I want this transition to go across, and it's 25 frames a second. Okay, so I'm going to say it's going to be 1, 2, 3, so that's 75 frames. Yeah, 25 times 3. So into here I'm going to put 75 and I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to put 75 in here. I'm going to press enter. Give me 75 frames. This first frame I've selected here, I'm going to keyframe it. Now the keyframe it, there's a little keyframe down here, or you can press, I think it's the S on the keyboard, or the K. Or you can hit this here. Actually, it's strange, it's not doing it. Ah, okay. Why? Okay, so sorry, just need to select the camera, get in position, put this on the first frame, press S, and that will set. You see a little red bars appeared, and that's a keyframe. If you look over here on the camera attributes, it's now gone red, and that's because you've locked it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to 25, somewhere like that, and I'm going to move this around, and I'm going to press S on the keyboard. Now if I do this, you'll see it starts to move around. So I'm now going to go to 50, and I'm going to move it around here, and I'm going to press S on the keyboard. And now you can see it's doing this. And finally 75. And we'll zoom in a little bit, and I'm pressing S on the keyboard to set a frame. Okay, and now we can zoom through this. You can also play through this by using the play buttons here. It's going a bit quick, but we can set this at 10 frames a second. Oh no, whoops, that's my frameage. Okay, so you can play it there, but obviously it's going a bit quick. You can also right hand click in here and go to play blast. If you hit the little play blast, this will give you a better view of how it's going to look. So I'm going to go to play blast, and now you'll see it, and it's opened up another window here. So this is what it's giving me, and that looks good. I'm happy with that. You could tinker around, but you know, it's up to you. Let's do another little thing here. I've got this spotlight, which you know about. And by the way, I can move in and out, because as soon as I move here, because it's not keyframed, it will jump back to how it should be. So I could, if I wanted to, I could take this and I could animate it. So if I'm going to press the space bar. This is why it's good to set up another camera to do the animation, so you can always get back to perspective. In fact, I'll do that now. What I'll do is I'll create another camera. Let's go to create, let's go camera and camera. Now you'll see that inside of outline a new camera will have appeared, and I'm going to just jump to that camera. So I'm going to go to this new camera, camera 1. and now I can zoom out. It means that I can make changes and I don't have to care about the other camera moving around. If I look, yeah, so now what I can do is I can say, right, at that point I want this to be there. Okay, press S on the keyboard, and at this point I want it to be back here. You see, move it back, press S. So now if you look, it's animating the light as well, and of course we're already animating the camera, which you can see the camera moving around as well. We look at that, see, that's the camera moving. We're not viewing the camera, so I can come back now into my panel, my perspective panel, and that light that we did there will actually move back. You see it moving back there as we come round. So you've got full control. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to do a quick render here, and then we'll set it up for render output. Okay, so this is rendering out on my other monitor. And here it is here. So let's render this series of images out. Now, by the way, if you wanted to render one shot, I could render in here and then I could save this out. So let me just show you how to do that quickly. So this is one shot from the frame, got a little bit of reflection down here, and we could go to File, Save Image. I'll save it on my desktop as test. Okay, and save. Now if I close that down and close this down, you'll see that I've got test in there. Now I'm not sure why it's called it an ALS file, because it's actually a JPEG. Let me jump back into Maya and do another render. I obviously didn't save it as what it should be. Okay, try again. So save image, option box. Don't want to save it raw. Yeah, oh, they're saving it down there, that's why. So I want to go down and save as a JPEG or any of the other formats you like, test2, and save that on my desktop, save. And now if I close this down, then you've got it down here. Yeah, so good, all's good in the world. Right, let's now export this out as a series of images. So we come into our option box here, and what we're going to look for is certain things. We're going to say image file format. We're going to make it in this case a JPEG, good, nice easy one. We're going to go frame animation, and we want it to be an animation, so we want it to do frame, we want it to do the name of the file, yeah, and we want it to give a dot and then the number, so a hash, and then the extension. So I'm going to select that one. We're going to say the start of the frame is 1, the end of the frame is 75. Okay, we're going to move by 1 frame at a time, so that's fine. We're also going to name this, we're going to call it Jiva, so it will be jiva.1.jpg in this case, because we've selected JPEG there. Everything else is fine. We're not doing lat passes. We're going to leave all the quality settings as they are, just for ease. And yeah, happy with that. So whereas before we would hit the render here, what we actually want to do now is a proper render. So I'm going to go into the options here and go down to rendering, and I'm going to go to render, and we're going to go down to batch render options. I'm going to click that. And now we're going to batch render. So what will happen is the rendering here will happen down here, rendering with Mental Ray, and it will start adding these into the folder inside of your Jiva model. So in this case, it will start adding it to the images folder. So I'll just show you quickly where that is. So if we come into our thing here, this is where our model information is. We'll open this up and you've got images here. If we double click that, you can see it started to process these images. Do you see? Now, something I need to tell you as well is you need to, at the moment it is using by default, it is using the perspective camera, but in some cases you might have this set on the front view or the top view, but you want it to render out perspective. You need to make sure you're on the active camera, or you need to tell the renderer which camera you're going to use. I mean, it was kind of luck really, I had it on there so it was picking up the proper camera, but like I said to you before, generally I leave my perspective camera alone. I create a new camera and I add my animation to that new camera. So in that case I would have to, in the render settings, tell it to actually render out using camera 1, yeah, and then it will always use that camera as the renderer. It's just something to watch out for, which you can easily miss when you're doing these things. But you can see it starting to move. If I jump between these frames, you can see the cameras, the images are being produced out in series. So I could take this into a program like you know, Nuke or After Effects or Adobe Premiere, and I could put these together and output them as a video file, and then it would show the animation. So it's that simple. So I'll let this render out and I'll show you just the final output once I've put this together. I use After Effects just to put these series of images together, and then I'll show you the output at the end.